From sports to school and even work, competition constantly makes its way into multiple parts of our lives.
Yeah, for some people, a competitive nature can boost personal growth, but for others, it can be detrimental to their mental health. So how much competition is too much? Here to break it down for us, Ruchika Malhotra. She's the author of the book Uncompete, Rejecting Competition to Unlock Success. Ruchika, I love the title. Tell us a little bit first, though, about how competition can work to your advantage. I think sometimes when you're competing with yourself, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we believe. But even then, the research shows it can be very, very detrimental when we think that, you got to compete with yourself. It brings down your self-esteem. If you're not trending in the direction you think you should be, it can really, really be very hard to continue on. People, we've heard from athletes, we've heard from Olympians, it can be very, very damaging. And actually, there's a new trend, like whether we think of Simone Biles or some of these really amazing Olympians who are actually saying, no, like I'm not competing with myself. I'm doing what I need to take care of myself to succeed.
But those are the way that it's damaging. Are there ways where it actually is helpful?
I think it's very hard because I think it comes from this idea that we live in like a world where there's a level playing field, right? And in some situations, like for example in sports, there is everyone knows what the rules are. You kind of know what you need to do to win.
A common language.
A common language. How does that exist in real life? Like, when you think about nepotism in the workplace, when you think about how many workplaces are very unfair, when you think about what it takes to have an unfair advantage in life to get ahead, it's really hard to say that the rules are the same. So how can you say that competition is really the way to win?
So tell us about the message behind your book then. I mean, the title is Uncompete. So how do we unwind some of that training?
Yeah, so uncompete is a made-up word, which I love. I know, Vicky, you'll really appreciate this. I'm an immigrant who learned English as a second language, so to be able to come up with a word that I trademarked feels really good in English. But uncompete basically looks at how competition is a choice, and therefore to opt out of it can also be a choice. I think there's this belief that we're actually hardwired to compete, that like there's something in our DNA. Research shows that's not true at all. In fact, what has allowed us to survive and thrive as a species for so long is our radical collaboration. And so for me, I think that we're in this time of polycrises, right? Like AI on one end, like what's happening in the world, geopolitics, all of this, stress, financial anxiety. We're at a time where we can really make choices even when we think we can't. And I think one of the big ones is to opt out of competition.
So what if you opt out and you choose to uncompete, but the people around you don't? How do you handle competitive people?
Yeah, this is tricky. What I've found is, by and large, one of the very important things is the more you actually practice many of the principles I write in the book, you do start to influence the people around you. So many of us think like the rule is that I gotta compete or to get ahead. We don't think about collaboration as the default. In situations where I've gone up to someone, like a colleague, and I've said, hey, I'm going to actually tell you what my salary is. I know you're going in for a negotiation. Of course, initially, it's like, what? Are you sure? Like, you're telling me what to expect? Like, are you doing, like, me a favor? What's going on? What's in it for you? And the more I've practiced that sort of what I call radical generosity, the more I've started to see people do that as well. And there's research to back this up, right? Like, this idea of pay it forward actually exists. So I've noticed that. However, in the book, and there's also a section where I have written about people who just won't uncompete. And in those situations, you also need to set your boundaries.
Set your boundaries, maybe avoid them. But this is all about collaboration, ways to kind of uncheck yourself from the way that a lot of people have been conditioned, especially in their industry. Unsubscribe, exactly.
Absolutely.
Ruchika Malhotra, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations on the book, Ruchika. Thank you. And keep it right here, folks. You're watching NBC News Daily.